know we have one item on the agenda. If you want to go ahead and discuss that as well while you're up, it's under Supervisor Hunter's name. We'll go ahead and take care of that.
All right. I just wanted to give an update on where we are in the electoral process for the November election. We've made it through the primary and runoff. We concluded poll worker training last week. We will do the public logic and accuracy testing on the DS200s and the AutoMark, which is the ADA compliant device, marking device. We'll be doing that on Wednesday and Thursday. And next Wednesday and Thursday, we will be delivering the equipment to the precincts. So we're on target and ahead of schedule.
Okay. Since this was under Supervisor Hunter's name, we'll go directly to Supervisor Hunter.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Ms. Scott. I think she basically clarified. I just wanted to make sure that the voting machine was going to be ready and available. And
Yes.
I think you have identified it. Thank you.
After the election, how many days is it going to take to certify the election? The normal amount of time, or a day or two after?
I would think a couple days.
A couple days. Okay. Any other questions from the board or Commissioner Cochran? Okay. Ms. Cochran, thank you very much. It's one of the easiest times I've seen for you up here, so I know you're happy about that, and we are too. Thank you very much. Did I miss any other elected official that may be in the audience? Mr. Stokes, Charles Stokes. Do you have an issue?
No, sir, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. We'll
Speak now.
Supervisor Hunter.
Mr. Stokes, I was visiting the Department of Human Service office last week, and Mr. Ken Cochran raised a question. I think we are leasing the property that houses his operation. And his question was, can the county abate the property taxes since the county agent leasing the building?
Can they abate it?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be in your lease. If you lease the property for as the county goes, of course, we all know the county is tax exempt, but it's going to depend on what the leasing says.
Well, right now, the lease does not include property tax. You have to pay the property tax separately, I understand.
Okay, well, we have to abide by what the lease says from the county.
Well, maybe that's something he may need to come talk to you about.
Well, I can lead you in the right direction, but the five of you guys will have to make that decision because it's the county's building, and of course, you guys are tax exempt.
Well, it's a private building, but it's a county agent leasing the building, and the tax is excluded in the lease agreement. The county the agent have to pay the tax itself.
Right, right, and that's how it is. If it's a private building, then it's depending on also to the leasing, and they're leasing it out, then yeah, they will be responsible for paying the tax.
Well, we was trying to get I tell you what, I'm gonna let him talk to you about it. Would that be okay?
That'll be fine.
Thank you.
That'll be fine.
Dr. Walker, then Supervisor Stokes.
Mr. President, I think the law is very clear on that. You may want to refer to the attorney, but as long as the building is privately owned, then the owner has to pay taxes on it, whether it's leased to a not-for-profit organization or not. I think it's pretty clear on that.
Okay.
So he has to, let the final word be the board attorney, but I think the law states clearly that if it's privately owned, they pay taxes.
Okay. Supervisor Stokes.
Thank you. Mr. Stokes, to come to the podium for a second, please. My concern is the automobiles that you currently have for your assessors. I noticed one broke down. And how many automobiles do you have? How old are they? And how often are they breaking down?
Wow. Reason I said, wow, I have a total of about 14 vehicles. The oldest ones we got is from 2000. We even got a 1995. And that's the one that you were speaking that did break down. And then the day that it broke down, the next day, what I had to do was get those two appraisers together to go out in the county, and we only left out the parking lot. His vehicle broke down. So actually, I got vehicles with anywhere from 116,000, 160, 180,000 miles on them. And they're constantly breaking down, or they're constantly staying in the shop down there at Central Repair.
Which make your job somewhat difficult.
Yes, sir, it makes it very difficult. Because anytime that we have to double up, or at times that the vehicles are down, then that puts us behind. And we have a total of 115,000 parcels in Hinds County, which says we have to do 25% of that 115,000 parcels. So we fall behind. And then at the end, we're constantly running, and it's very hard to run when we got vehicles that won't hold up. They won't run.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll continue our printed agenda. We'll now go to the approval of minutes.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. We have 5 sets of minutes this morning, and they are September 17th, 2013, September 25th, 2013, September 30th, 2013, October 7th, 2013, and October 8th, 2013 for your approval.
What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of? Opposed to?
No.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. If you don't mind, we'll move on to claims this morning.
Correct.
Last week, the Chancery Clerk's Office provided the board members with a copy of today's claims information. The first item in that packet is a schedule of an interfund advance. This is an advance to the Law Enforcement Liaison Grant in an amount up to $15,000 as needed to defray additional expenses in the current month.
What's the pleasure of the board? It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of? Opposed to?
Not voting, Mr. President.
One not voting. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. The next item is also an interfund advance. This is an advance to the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality Waste Assistance Grant in the amount of $5,000, and this is from the General County Fund.
What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Supervisor Stokes.
Thank you. You saying excuse me, these funds coming from the general fund?
From the General County Fund, yes. In order for this is a reimbursement grant. So in order to pay its bills while we await the reimbursement, the fund needs a little bit of cash just so we can release its claims today.
That's going to affect the budget.
It will not affect your budget at all. Interfund transfers do not hit your budget at all in any manner.
My question to legal is that right now percentage that they're paying for the payback is extremely low. Do we have the discretion to raise the percentage of payback?
You would have the discretion to do that. You could increase it, yes.
Mr. President, how much are we paying back on this loan?
On interfund advances, we do not charge any interest.
Which ones do we charge interest on?
Only on loans. Interfund loans, those are charged at the rate at which you earn interest through the bank.
Okay. Now, how much normally do we pay back in interest? I think we had that come up once before. It was so low.
I believe your current rate is 0.21%.
0.21%.
I think that's the current rate, yes, sir.
Okay.
I haven't had to look at it since last year at this time, so.
Could you tell us how much we're paying back? Was it 0.21?
Mr. President, I know, and I would rather have a full board will make these decisions, but this paying, borrowing money throughout the county, paying it back, but there's no interest, even though it's like we borrow from ourselves, it sends the wrong message. you know, we got to start looking within our budgets. And if they got to borrow money, even though we transfer it, somewhere down the line, even though it's a grant, we're gonna have to manage the grant better. I would imagine that administration fees is involved in these grants.
No, not on most of these.
Well, where will the money go to on this particular grant?
On this grant, hold on one moment, I'll tell you that.
Probably salary.
Get through Public Works, hold on a moment. This is going to Mid-State Welding and Construction for debris removal. This is your MDEQ illegal dump site cleanup. So this is the company that Mr. Freelix is using, I believe. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the total amount is 5,000?
It's
Right.
5,000.
On that particular site, there's two sites. One was 5,000, the other was 31.
The one was 2,000, one's 3,100, yes.
So did we get enough for both of them or what?
Both.
And you don't have money in you're gonna transfer them out your budget?
Normally, that's the procedure she uses.
That's what I'm saying. Why it's coming out of the general fund?
Because all advances are made from the general fund. The general fund is the only fund in the county in which it is authorized for all purposes.
So can we take the money out of Mr. Freeland's budget, put it back in the general fund, and then when the money comes to pay it back, he can put the money back in his budget?
Because this is a public works grant, you could advance the money from the road fund. It would just make your interfund advances a little bit more messy instead of making it out of the general fund. Remember, most of these are short-term advances. Once that we receive the reimbursement, the advance would be repaid.
And I understand that, but normally when we repay, in most cases, there's no interest, as you said this time, or there's no interest. We start, it's like a shell game to my idea. We're moving money from here to there, and it seems to make the public think there's some trickeration going on. So, you know, I feel a lot better if a public works grant, take the money out of public works, when the money come back, the money back in public works, shouldn't come out of the general fund. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Walker. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Supervisor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Following up on what Supervisor Stokes, to you, Ms. Gregory, the reason we do this is because the availability of the funds till we move from the general fund until the grant money is available to replace it.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to be clear on that.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of? Opposed to? Motion passes. Continue, please.
Thank you very much. The next interfund advance is to catalog of federal domestic assistance grant number 16.738, which is your JAG and JET grants. This is in an amount up to $5,000 from the general county fund.
What's the pleasure of the board?
So
It's been moved. Is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second it. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Questions, President?
Question from Supervisor
The
Stokes.
purpose of this transfer,
This is for salaries for the JAG grant to defray those expenses for the rest of this month. And this is the public defenders, so it is a general government function. And that you could not make this transfer from another fund other than the general fund.
it's the public defenders.
I think that's correct. Is that right, Ms. Wood?
So we can't wait till late in the budget, because they said the salary, how much is it?
It's a reimbursable grant. Once the expenditure is made, we're going to send the claim over to the city of Jackson to reimburse us for the JAG grant, and we're going to repay the money.
So it's a joint venture with the city of Jackson.
The JAG grant is actually a grant awarded to the city, and then they enter into an interlocal agreement with the county for our portion of that grant.
No, Doc, you said the city about as long as I was, and I know the cities don't have that authority, and I know I think the people know that, transfer monies, but it's switching monies back and forth instead of waiting. But I understand you're saying that we have to allocate the money before we can apply for it.
Right. We have to
It's a
send
reimbursable
the check.
program.
It's a reimbursable.
Okay. Now, again, How much is this?
Mr. Stokes, for the record, if we don't do this, then those employees will not have enough money in line item to get paid.
I agree. How much is it?
This is up to $5,000.
Now, we know there's not, the janitor over there at Public Defender not making $5,000. So we know that this amount of this grant is not anything major in terms of the payroll for a Public Defender. But we keep changing monies up and down and around. It just sends the wrong message. Maybe county's gonna say it's fine and everything else, but I just have a problem with the way we're doing this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Supervisor Hunter, then Supervisor Walker.
And my question, how long did it take to be reimbursed on these transactions?
I will refer to Mrs. Wood.
And it varies with the city. We request it each month, and sometimes it takes them 30 to 60 days. Sometimes it takes them longer, but we do request it monthly from the city of Jackson. And we follow up with them for reimbursement.
Supervisor Walker.
My question has been answered. I was going to ask if we didn't follow through on the transfer with the employees get paid. So the answer is no, they will not get paid.
$5,000?
It's up to $5,000. So we don't know exactly how much.
It's one employee, it's two salaries and fringe benefits for that one employee.
How much that employee make?
It's an attorney, and we can pull their particular right after their
$5,000.
The salary and the fringe benefits together is a little under 5,000, 4,000 something.
Yeah.
And that's why
I
we
bet
said,
you can see that he get paid or she get paid way more than $5,000. And nobody will tell me that this $5,000 will be the difference whether this person get paid or not.
That's just a 1 month salary, 1 month salary improvements.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. All those in favor of?
Aye.
Opposed to?
No.
Motion passes. Continue, please.
Thank you very much. We have several claims over $100,000 this morning. The first of those was pursuant to a request from Mrs. Calhoun to separate out, so we will add it to your other claims over $100,000 unless there is another supervisor that would like to vote on the Malachi claim separately. No?
Question,
Okay.
Mr. President.
Question from Supervisor Stokes.
Ms. Carr, sometime back, you gave us a memo. And in that memo, I think the board voted that we're going to have everything in together. Can you explain the memo you gave us and what you were trying to accomplish? You don't have to get up. You can speak for me.
a year or so ago, certain supervisors had asked that we pull certain claims. They would ask us to pull so they could vote on separately. And we just wanted to make sure what process you wanted, since this was basically a new board, what process you wanted in place. Still, if a particular supervisor called and tell us to pull them, out of respect, we will pull that claim for you.
But do we pass something different? What did we pass?
I'd have to go back and look at some stuff. So I do remember, I just can't
We
tell you.
legally passed something, correct?
I cannot say yeah or nay because I'd have to go back and pull. I'm sorry, I just don't remember
It's
that.
all right, but if we pass something, Mr. President, we have to follow what we pass.
Right.
Now, all this, we can start asking all kinds of things to be held and bring up in the be here all week. You know, if we pass something, let's vote, let's follow the law that things we pass. If it's a bad law, let's change it. But let's don't make law and policy and then don't follow it. That's not right.
I'll be happy to go back and have staff to look up the minutes and see what happened with that particular memo. I do remember sending it because we had several supervisors who wanted certain claims pulled. And then after they became comfortable with voting on those claims, they asked that they be removed from the list of claims to be voted on separately. But if you don't want to do that anymore, but give us a chance to go back and look at what happened. I don't recall specifically.
Thank you.
Dr. Walker.
There are some questions that some of us have, and if they're raised in our regular meetings, it seems like a whole lot of nitpicking and other kind of things that may be interpreted. I have requested that, and the president said that he's going to address it, the informational meetings that are held prior to the regular meeting, so that if there are questions that we have, we can then raise those questions and our regular meetings can go more smoothly. In as much as this question has come up, I'd like to request that those claims in in excess of $100,000 be voted on separately today.
And the auditor's office has requested that the board be notified specifically of all claims over $100,000 since those are considered material in nature. They felt like the board should be voting on those separately or in one combined bunch so that you are aware of all those claims that are material to your financial statements.
Continue, please.
Okay. And we will continue with all of your claims over $100,000 this morning, and they are claim number 6 to Malachi Financial Products in the amount of $115,440 for the comprehensive financial plan. Claim number 12 to United Healthcare, JP Morgan Chase in the amount of
Are we
$400,000.
not voting on them individually or lump?
We're
No,
going to
these
put
are
them
all
all
your-
together. All your claims over $100,000.
I heard Dr. Walker ask, are you asking they just be read or that we vote on individually?
Well, they can be read, but I'd like to vote on them as a group.
Okay.
And that's how we present them as a group.
Continue, please.
Okay, back to claim number 12 to United Healthcare, that is in the amount of $496,422.23. That is health insurance for county employees and retirees. Claim number 54 is to AT&T in the amount of $131,913.79. That is 911 telephone service and for 2 county offices. Claim number 70 is to Jackson Hines Library System in the amount of $132,173 even. That is their October allotment. Claim number 85 is to the Economic Development Authority in the amount of $104,096.35. That is their September and October allotments. Claim number 120 is to Administrative Office of Courts in the amount of $154,110.22, and that is August and September Chancery and Circuit Court Reporters and Court Administrators. Claim number 228 is to Waste Pro Jackson in the amount of $181,589.63. That is your residential garbage collection. And finally, claim number 245 is to Quality Choice Correction in the amount of $188,825 for September inmate medical services.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to move that those claims in excess of $100,000 not be approved.
Not to be approved. Okay.
I would simply vote against it if the motion had been made. I can withdraw my motion not to approve if someone makes a motion to approve them.
I'll make the motion to approve. So it's been moved. Is there a second?
Mr. President,
Mr. Stokes?
I know we don't have it on the floor. I'm voting against AT&T. I'm voting against Economic Authority. And might be one more. I was writing them down. So I don't know if we're going to today have to vote on as a lump sum or we can vote on individually. And I think that's what we were asking earlier with Dr. Walker.
Let me see if I'm going to get a second. If we don't get a second, then I have no problem with whatever the pleasure of the board. If you want to vote on them individually, that's fine. Brett, if we can do that, vote on them individually.
We can.
I think that's what the board is eventually wanting to do. So, by virtue of the fact that I have not gotten a second, then I will make it a moment of privilege to where we will ask that we vote on them individually if that's the pleasure of the board.
Yes, sir.
Supervisor Hunter.
Well, I think my opinion is that I think that it's most of these items, the service has been rendered, and people are expected to get paid for their work, and it's good for the order to move the county forward to pay people. However, I refer back to Dr. Walker's comment, if we had concerns or issues with these claims, that we probably should have took them up in the work session and not put people business, in a situation. And they expect them to get paid.
Okay. Brenda, if you would, just go ahead and just start, and we'll go ahead and go down individually.
So everybody's withdrawing their motions.
Yes,
No, he
I'm
did
withdrawing
not.
my motion. I didn't get a second, so it didn't carry. Okay?
Do you want that reflected as a withdrawn or died for lack of second?
Whichever.
Okay.
Let's go down. Well, what happened was it
Died for lack of second.
died for lack of second.
Okay. Moving back to your claims over $100,000, the first of those is claim number 6 to Malachi Financial Products in the amount of $115,440 even. That is for your comprehensive financial plan.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second it. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to?
Nay.
Motion passes. Continue, please.
The next claim is claim number 12 to United Healthcare JP Morgan Chase in the amount of $496,422.23 for health insurance for county employees and retirees.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? I'll second it. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to?
Nay.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. The next claim is claim number 54 to AT&T
What's
in
the
the
pleasure?
amount of $131,913.79.
What's the pleasure, board? What's the pleasure of the board? I will move that we pay this claim. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded.
Question, President.
Question from Supervisor Stokes.
Now, the ATT claim on 911, can we get more information on that? I think somebody said they were looking at the lines or something. What are we paying for?
Maybe I need to defer that to Joseph Perkins, the Interim Emergency Management Director. Mr. Bryant may be able to help also. Okay.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning.
I do a review of the E911 bill each month. And the 911 bill comes between $123,000 and $128,000 per month. And that's part of this 131. And then I think the other one is 2. And one of those is paying for circuit wiring from Mississippi State University to the extension service on Wilson Boulevard.
And then the other one's Human Services.
It's human services. And we don't have under the state contract.
How much is this? We're paying 100 and how many thousand?
131 on the E911.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. We're paying 131,000.
Okay, but
For what?
123 to 128 is paying for your E911 system, all your equipment, your lines, and so forth, in the 911 system.
For all the cities, right?
Right.
The cities and the sheriff's office. Is
It's
that
all the
correct?
cities, city of Jackson, city of Clinton.
That's by contract?
Yes.
Has Lita had a chance to look at that contract?
I'm not aware of it.
Okay.
I believe the contract's been in place for years, and I believe it's coming up for renewal in 2014.
Okay. Supervisor Hunter.
I think on last board meeting, reference to the E911 system. Explain the E911 system. It's 2 parts. It's the mobile, the radio system is one part, one component, and the AT&T is another component.
Out of your 911 fund, it does fund, your primary purpose of your 911 fund is to fund your E911 telephone service, which is basically your equipment in your dispatch centers when your citizens call 911. The other mechanism that's that's funded is your radio system, your different components of your radio system.
Because I think I asked the gentleman from Motorola, were there a system that we could buy that would serve the same purpose of the system that we're paying monthly. This, $123,000 a month. Maybe we need to explore a system that we can own. Anyone here from Motorola or State? Mr. Stan, could you expound a little bit on that?
I'm Stan Unruh with Motorola, and I think last time I was here you asked me to start looking into what would be the possible feasibility of replacing your AT&T system with your own system. And yes, we're putting a proposal together at this point for you. And I told you it might be between 100, anywhere from 100,000 to $1 million. Well, it looks like it's going to be much more than that because you have many more PSAP sites than we realize. But I don't have a definite number yet for you. I can have that at the next board meeting. But at this point, yes, you certainly can own your own system instead of leasing this from AT&T.
Okay. Supervisor Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask the financial advisor to come forward because this is it's a concern that I have with E911, and he had mentioned a time or two about we paying for some things we don't have, and other cities have done different things. Can you kind of expound on that, please?
I think what you're referring to is we were asked to take a look at the E911 fund, categorically speaking, and one of the things that we did was to do kind of a preliminary look at the outstanding revenue from the E911 phone line revenue sources. And what we determined was that, the county is probably missing a substantial amount of revenue per month. And our best guess at this point is about $200,000 to $250,000 a month, just based on our taking the current records from the county and then running a quick test, crossing them against what the FCC suggests that you should be getting paid for. But then the next step, which we're in the process of wrapping up right now, is to do a formal audit of all of those lines on both sides and then come back to the county with findings and perhaps recommendations on how to collect lost revenue. We think also that there's an opportunity to do a look back on revenue that has been missed over the course of the last 3 years. So at a couple $100,000 a month in revenue loss, it's a fairly substantial piece of money that's gone into a vacuum out there that we think that we can help the county recover.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Dr. Walker.
Very quickly, first let me just say that Mr. Perkins, who has been put in a very difficult situation, has done an outstanding job. So we want to do a shout out for you this morning. On the other hand, I think it's important that our legal department, our board attorney, and team look at this contract, because the legal review of it, in my view, is much more important than a financial assessment, although we do need to do the financial assessment. As I plan to do a little later this morning, when the individual items from the respective board members come up, is talk about where we're headed with 911 in terms of money. You indicated that we're probably missing $250,000 a month. We need it bad, and we need it now. So we need to put whatever we're talking about on the front burner as far as that is concerned. And I just want to start my comments right there. But we need to get some money into 911, and we need to make assessments of everything that's happening that's connected with their contracts, etc. Also the maintenance contract. Who could best be doing that? We're paying, $30,000 every quarter for that, $120,000 a year. Could that best be done by the Emergency Operations Center at a considerably cheaper cost to the county. Those are things that we have to look at. I think we have to be good stewards of the public monies that we're charged with keeping record of. There's a place for reality, but most of all, there's a place for common sense in what we do and how we do it.
Okay. Supervisor Stubbs.
How much have we paid AT&T?
On this bill, it's $131.
No, I'm talking about how much. I think somebody said we're about the contract and we paying this money. How much have we paid?
We pay them approximately $130,000 a month.
For how long? I'm talking about how much? 2 million, 5 million, 100 million?
We've been paying AT&T for many, many, many years, long before I came, which was 1998.
But we did a new contract a couple of years ago. So we have to pull the numbers for you, Mr. Stokes. We can pull it and let you know exactly how much we pay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Before we move on, let me just ask Mr. Bingham, have you been able to get with the legal team to determine, I know you're looking into the expenditures, have you been able to determine anything regarding the money that's already been spent by the municipalities, and have you been able to verify that they actually got the equipment that they stated that they've got, or what the money was allocated to them for? Have you been able to look into that with the legal advisor yet?
We're beginning to. We've certainly started to look at the board's financials. I mean, they are public record financials, and we're beginning to review those. We have had one conversation with the legal team about the need for us to get together and in this approach, and I think Peter would agree that that is definitely a part of our plan. And Supervisor Walker, this is a high priority.
Okay, I think someone from the legal team.
From the legal team, we sent out letters to the various cities and towns to see the request for the email one line. So when we get those back, we're going to distribute those.
Thank you so much. That's very good. Thank you very much. Greta, go ahead, please.
Okay,
we have a motion and a second. We now need a vote. All in favor say aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion. 2 noes. Motion fails. Okay. Continue, please.
Thank you very much. The next claim is claim number 70 to Jackson Hines Library System in the amount of $132,173. This is their October allotment.
What's been moved? Is there a second? I'll second. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes.
The next claim is claim number 85, which is to the Hinds County Economic Development Authority, and this is in the amount of $104,096.35. That is their September and October allotments.
What's the pleasure of the board? What's the pleasure of the board? What's the pleasure of the board? Motion dies for lack of a motion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Stokes.
my concern is that, and we gave state law to our legal team to look at, if they have board members sitting illegally, how can we give money to them and they violate state law? My position is, let's get the board legal. Then you put money there. There's always a concern that what we've done can come back to bite us. Again, they have board members sitting illegally and they're not following state law. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Continue, please.
The next claim is claim number 120 to Administrative Office of Courts in the amount of $154,110.22. This is August and September payroll for Chancery and Circuit court reporters and court administrators.
What's the pleasure of the board? It's been moved. Is there a second? I'll second it. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to?
Nay.
One
nay.
nay.
Still the $100,000 plus.
Yes, sir.
Motion passes. Continue, please.
The next claim is claim number 228 to Waste Pro Jackson in the amount of $181,589.63. and this is your residential garbage collection.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? I'll second it. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Continue, please.
And the final claim is claim number 245 to Quality Choice Correction in the amount of $188,825 even for your September inmate medical services.
What's the pleasure of the board? What is the pleasure of the board? I will so move that we pay. This is for inmate food?
No, inmate medical.
Inmate medical. Okay. And how much was it for?
$188,825.
Okay.
Your contract amount.
Okay. It's been moved. Is there a second? Is there a second?
And let me ask a question, Mr. President.
Question.
These matters that have not passed, there will be an opportunity to revisit those particular situations, will there not?
We can reconsider at the end of the meeting. There'll be a motion to reconsider.
And if not, they will be brought back at your next meeting.
Okay. Is there a second?
Question, Mr. President.
Question from Supervisor Stokes.
Mr. President, have we had an assessment of quality choice? We keep hearing horror stories, and every other meeting I'm bringing up quality choice and the assessment. That's my first concern. My second concern: what is this contract do?
We'll have to
I
defer
think
Ms.
it's
Davis.
I want to make sure I'm clear, Supervisor Stokes. We're speaking of medical services and not food.
medical services. Yes.
Quality choice correction.
Okay. I just want to make sure their contract was just renewed, I believe, at the end of September or beginning of September. Assessment was done prior to that. I thought an assessment report had been distributed to all supervisors. If not, I will forward that to you.
With the complaints we're hearing about the medical service in the jail, what do we do when we hear these complaints? Do we, I think with the food, do we have a similar process when people make a complaint, it can go to someone and end up to the supervisors? Because I have an idea verbally the complaints on medical service. However, we haven't received anything in writing. So who's getting the complaint? Who's receiving the complaints?
Well, I have not received any complaints on the medical services.
So they're saying everything is fine?
The information has not been given to me if there are complaints for me to address. And as far as the food is, we are addressing those complaints.
I'm not dealing with food. I'm just dealing with the medical service.
Okay. All right. If you would, I think we need to make sure that we meet with Peter to make sure that we do have a procedure in place for those particular complaints. I know that they're working on a procedure for the complaints to deal with the food, and they're also working on a procedure to deal with just overall complaints. That I think this will capture what Supervisor Stokes is trying to say regarding this the medical costs that will capture those complaints, and we'll have an orderly procedure as to what we need to do in order to get these handled.
Mr. President, when you sit up here, you make these statements, you got to follow up. I want to give an example. Family came to my home, the Dent family, and their loved one is kind of up in age, and they said he's not getting his medicine. So I did my walking through the jail, and just so happened I saw him walking, and he said the same thing. They're not giving me my medicine. Now, that's not a complaint. When you get old, don't get your medicine. That's the death penalty. Quality choice got to make sure that they get medicine to these human beings. Even though they're in jail, they can't be treated like animals.
All right. Regarding this particular issue, motion dies, or issue dies.
That's for lack of a second.
Yeah, for lack of a second. Yes. Okay, continue, please.
All right.
Does that conclude?
That concludes the claims over $100,000 for this morning. The last item in your packet was
Before you go on, Greta, Dr. Walker has something he needs to talk about, or something, a statement.
Let me make a statement. No one likes to see scenarios such as what we've seen this morning played out in public or any other kind of meetings. However, when we fail to follow the advice of people in positions who know, such as the auditor who indicated that we needed to pull these out and vote on them, And when we are not having the sessions, we need to have so that relevant, pertinent, important questions can be asked about them. Then we beg for situations such as what we've seen this morning.
Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead and continue.
Okay, the last item in your packet were your grant claims. They do appear to be in order this morning. Your regular claims are claim numbers 1 through 252, less claim numbers 16, 12, 54, 70, 85, 120, 228, and 249. Those are all the claims over $100,000, whether they passed or not today. So we are requesting that you approve the remaining claims, except everything over $100,000, which we've excluded.
So it's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of? Opposed to?
No.
Motion passes.
We have the order approving the claims portion of the minutes for today, October 21, 2013, for your approval.
It's a pleasure of the board. So moved. It's been moved. Is there a second? I'll second it. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of? Opposed to?
No.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
We will continue with our printed agenda. One item listed under my name is the request approval for the distribution of the health care insurance rebate. As you know, every year, as a result of the American Affordable Care Act, municipalities and county government receive a rebate. For the last 2 years, the county has received this particular rebate, and the board has voted to give this rebate a one-time rebate back to the employees this year. And it's the only rebate that will be given will be to the employees that are in the insurance as of what date?
As of July. July, the date we received the rebate.
The date we received the rebate, and this year that premium reduction or rebate is for $126.02. So my motion is that we continue to do what we've done the past 2 years, and that's to give this back to the employees. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Mrs. Parker, can you tell me approximately how many employees that's going to affect? Ms. Woods?
It is going to affect
600 or 700?
677.
Okay, thank you very much.
And Mr. President, want to make sure this is a one-time
Correct.
rebate.
Right. The other issue, I can wait until legal comes up under their name. It's the monitoring individuals that we're going to make recommendations for individuals to make up or to formally be announced, or a motion be made for it to formally make this particular team, formulate the machines team is what I'm trying to say, and to bring that up under legal. So from that, I will continue on, and we'll now go to the Honorable Alfonso Hunter from District 2. Mr. Hunter.
Thank you, Mr. President. We can pass item 1. It already been discussed by the Election Commission. Item number 2, I have requested that the county safety officer will be here this morning. Ms. Davis is going to do the report. And one of my concerns about the safety of the county is I'm a stickler on safety, because safety is one of the driving engines for the financial success of the whole county. When I go over these safety reports and I see how many auto accidents we are incurring, and how many workman comp claims, all those type factors factor into what we're paying on our insurance. So everybody throughout the county is going to have to become more safety conscious on how we do and approach claims and workman comp, even health claims, because it has a major impact on driving our insurance costs out of control. And Ms. Davis, do the report.
Thank you, Supervisor. I apologize. Mr. King could not be with us. He had a doctor's appointment. I did submit a report, the 2013 Safety Update Report, for your review, and it should have been included in your packet. What has been mentioned in the report, it gives 4 different areas in which to report safety matters. First would be under workers' compensation. Since between the period of January 2013 and September 2013, there have been approximately 72 workers' compensation cases. This number is decreased for the same period last year. Last year, the number was 77 claims. Auto accident report, there were 36 accident reports between January and September this year. This number is more than it was during the same period in 2012. Last year, we had 25 reported accidents during the same time. Liability reports indicate that there are 52 liability reports. This number has increased since last year. The number last year was 43 incidents. He also reported claims for the hail damage that we experienced in March of 2013. There were 60 claims for the hail storm damage. If you would like further details, I will entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Hunter, continue.
Okay, the next item I have, Mr. President, is still dealing with the upgrade of the E911 system. Since this system is kind of becoming a big elephant in the room, I would like Mr. Stan here from Motorola, and because what I'm understanding is that I'm trying to understand the state compatibility system that they have in place versus what Hinds County. And even if we upgrade to the new system, how is it going to be compatible to the state system? Do you have a gentleman here from the state?
Yes.
Okay.
You would just come to the podium and just give us your name.
Okay, again, it's Stan Unruh with Motorola, and let me rephrase your question. I think you're asking what we have proposed on a new radio system, how it's going to be compatible with the statewide MISWIN system, and they're both Project 25 radio systems, so it will, if you put the software in the radios on for the state system, you obviously will be able to interoperate with the state operating system. And Bill's here from the state to give you a little more information on the state, how the contract works, etc.
Yeah, I'm Bill Buffington.
Just get to the podium.
I'm Bill Buffington. I'm the technical director for the Mississippi Wireless Communication Commission. I've been on board since Katrina. I've overseen pretty much the entire construction of the state MISWIN that we've got in the system. You guys want an overview of the system or question?
Just an overview.
Yeah, right now we're sitting at about 155 sites statewide. All the sites are hardened to 5.9 reliability. They all have backup power. All the towers are built to Rep 222-G3, which are post-Katrina construction requirements. We have our own connectivity between these towers. The TBN is also 5.9s. We turned on phase 3, the north part of the state, back this past spring. I think so far we're approaching 300 different agencies, state and local. We're sitting at about 7,000 state agency users, I believe. And we're probably sitting around 18 to 20,000 local users, local communities. We have a number of local counties and cities that have joined MISWIN. We have a few that have done their own network upgrading, kind of like you guys are contemplating, and have created interoperability. Of course, our main mission was to create interoperability between agencies, so in an emergency, different folks can talk.
Okay.
That's kind of overview. We're probably sitting close to $300 million in investment.
Explain the process of paying for state contract.
Supervisor Hunter, and then Supervisor Stokes.
Question is the system, the P25 system, what other radios would be compatible or equal to that?
We've tested 7 different manufacturers and approved for use. Haven't had any problem with other vendors' products. I mean, we encourage that, but in the last month, I think two different communities have used other products other than Motorola.
Supervisor Stokes.
Thank you. Have you had a chance, first, where your office located?
Any state agency can contribute to the Wireless Commission. Our office has been housed since we started at the MDOT Lab building over on Woodrow Wilson.
And which building?
The MDOT Lab building. But we don't have any particular affiliation with MDOT, it's just that they furnish us office space.
Okay. Have you had a chance to evaluate the county's system?
Through the years, I mean, we've worked with some of your folks in an effort to maintain interoperability. I have not reviewed any current proposal to you, but we, part of our legislative task is to help locals, and we'll be happy to review it. I've been in this business 35 years, so we would be happy to. Haven't seen a recent proposal. I would like to say that as part of the procurement that we did in 07 and 08, that any local that's joining, and that can be at a lot of different levels when I say joining, but if you kind of cooperate with MSWIN and be connected with MSWIN, you can use the contract vehicle for procurement that we have in place, and it was an RFP that we did on, and then of course you can use the EPL, I think.
And MSWIN is what now?
MSWIN stands for Mississippi Wireless Information Network. I thought it stood for Interoperable Network, but ITS decided it was Information Network.
Okay. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Mr.
Have a card? You can leave. You got cards?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We'll now go to the honorable. We have one issue or one item under Supervisor Calhoun's name, or 2 items, and she's not here. Ms. Davis is going to do the resolution, and then I believe our board attorney is going to handle the one from the Sheriff's Department, because it's very important that we go ahead and do that today on this particular law. So thank you very much, and you can just give the card to the county administrator, and Ms. Davis, go ahead, please.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
A resolution presented by Supervisor Calhoun on behalf of the board reads as follows. The Board of Supervisors of Hinds County, Mississippi pauses to honor and pay tribute to the late Reverend Willie Lewis, one who dedicated and devoted his time and life serving as a religious leader. Whereas the character and richness of religious life in this county is nourished and fulfilled through the faithful concern and selfless devotion of those who commit their lives and purpose to the ministry of others. Reverend Lewis was one of those persons. Whereas Reverend Lewis, a distinguished man of God, always gave enlightenment, guidance, and wisdom to the many entrusted to his ministry. He ministered abundantly, teaching the Word of God not only to his parishioners' spiritual needs, but also to other community churches and church members. Whereas many accolades and designations such as preacher, teacher, husband, brother, and friend can be used to characterize Reverend Lewis, calling pastor is the best title to describe him. Whereas the Hinds County Board of Supervisors recognizes the life of Reverend Lewis as a man of great spirituality and compassion. Although he has gone on to a higher calling, his perseverance, leadership, and selfless commitment to spreading the gospel enhance spiritual well-being and vitality of our communities. Whereas Reverend Lewis earned the respect and applause of the citizens of Hinds County, his legacy of preaching will be passed on from one generation to another as we remember his faithful service in teaching God's Word. Therefore, be it resolved, Reverend Lewis is deserving of the tributes paid to him, and further, a copy of this resolution will be placed in the minutes of the Hinds County Board of Supervisors in order to archives this 21st day of October 2013.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed? 2. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Mrs. Davis. We will continue moving on the agenda. We'll now go to the Honorable Robert Walker of District 4.
Mr. President,
Mr. Stokes?
are we going to take care of items?
Yes, Peter's going to do that. Do you want to do it now, Peter, or do you want to wait?
I'd like to do that in executive session, and board, we also have an update on the food situation that we'd like to discuss as well.
Okay.
All that in executive session.
Thank you very much. Okay. Dr. Walker?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. To the President, members of the board, there are several items that I have. It looks like a long list, but I want to work to show it considerably. One of the things we've been trying to do has been to work with various community-based groups to leverage support and resources to get some things done. And one of the groups is the Girl Scouts, Troop 5841 of Byron, that has taken on a project of improvements at the playground at the Davis Road Park. We were held up a little bit at our last meeting because we did not have the certificate of insurance that protected Hinds County, and we now have it. It has been circulated to different, all the supervisors and other appropriate persons, the county administrator, etc. And at this time, I'd like to move for approval of that agreement to work with them.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed? 2. Motion passes. Continue, please.
I'd like to invite everybody out on November 2nd, I think beginning about 2 o'clock. From 2 to 5, the Girl Scouts are going to have a cleanup fundraiser, cook-off, and everybody's invited to come and show their support for them. In another instance, we're working with the City of Raymond and the Raymond Garden Club, and both the mayor and the president of the Garden Club have agreed to collaborate with our maintenance department and the county in beautifying that area around the annex at the courthouse in Raymond. I just wanted to inform the board of that. The final thing in terms of leveraging, we have met with the midpoints, a group of people from the midpoint area where the park is, and we will be working with them to bring further enhancements to the park at midpoint. I'm sorry, midpoint, I said midway. And we'll be coming back with further reports on how that's moving at subsequent meetings. At this time, and I move around a little bit on the list, we just want to remind of former candidates who were not successful in the previous races to please remove their signs from the right-of-way and elsewhere, because it's confusing to some of the candidates who are running for the general election in November. So please do a good community service by removing your signs if you were not successful, and save them for next time. But and the county needs an ordinance regulating the placement and removal of political signs. Okay, so
we've given that to the legal team. They just don't know it yet. But we've given it to them. I guess they know it now. But that has been given to the legal team.
Okay.
Okay.
What we are doing with, I've been working with the Ward 1 councilman from the city of Byron on some street work. And I indicated that we would be willing to work with them as long as we had an intergovernmental agreement specifying what was expected of each party. And I had a session with the board attorney, and we should be having some report and possibly a draft of an agreement at our first meeting in the month of November. So I just wanted to apprise the board of that.
Okay, would you make sure that the legal team's ready to assign one of our attorneys to make sure they look at this?
Yes, sir.
So we can do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I began talking with them last week about this matter, and I think by the time we meet on the 4th of November, we should have some document for the board to look at and possibly act on. We get it to them before that time.
Okay.
Had conversations with Mrs. Parker, the Human Resource Personnel Director, regarding the Youth Public Service Employment Initiative. We have already approved that, and I think Mrs. Parker, legal, Mr. Tennyson, are you ready to speak to that? Or
I'm sorry, which one's that for?
this is a Youth Public Service Employment Initiative.
Ms. Parker and I are finalizing language on that, and hope to have that done today, and that should be ready to go forward.
Okay.
Ms. Parker.
And Mr. President, so that we won't be held up on that, I guess, could we agree to move forward once legal has completed its review and it's been circulated to this board?
Correct. Yeah, I think we've made all the necessary approvals already in advance. It's been voted on, so
Okay, so
we're good. As long as we get the approval back, it's not necessary that we bring it back in front of the board unless the legal team advises that there's something different that we need to vote on.
Okay, very good.
Okay, continue.
Mr. President,
Mr. Stokes.
On that item, because it's amazing how things change, could we, I would like to move that we, once legal has approved it, that we give you the dog and sign, that we don't have to bring everything back and reinvent the wheel again, that we can move forward, bring these young people on board. I so move.
If it's in order, I second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Peter, did you want to weigh in on that?
No, I was going to say, the only thing that Ms. Parker and I were doing was a little bit of last-minute wordsmithing and putting in additional phrasing to reference the Federal Labor Standards Act. So we'll have that done. And thank you, Mr. Stokes. We don't need to bring it back before the board. We just need to execute and move forward with the program.
Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor of? Did we vote on this?
Aye.
Okay. All those in favor of? Aye.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, continue, please.
There's a matter regarding the Byron Clinton corridor that I'd like to have put on the agenda for our executive session this morning, Mr. President.
So noted. Continue, please.
On the budget, and we're getting ready to end. I've had some discussions, looked at some numbers regarding our budget, and I think we're going to have to do some things ASAP to make sure that we end current fiscal year without any deficit at all, okay? Which is going to require, in my opinion, that we take some moves. And so there are a couple of things that I want to present this morning pertaining to those. One, we have, I understand, been warned that no one should act as an agent of this county unless the county, through the board action and its minutes speaking to it, be authorized to act as an agent of the county.
Second.
And the particular, and I'm going to get to the motion, the particular thing is we have an individual who has been working with electronic bidding who gets a 3% commission from the bids that they reportedly work on. That individual is not authorized to do that by the county. And we've been warned by the state pertaining to one particular item that we have. And I'd like to move that this individual cease and desist representing himself as an agent of Hinds County until such time that the board takes action to authorize said party to do that, or more appropriately to issue an RFP for persons who are interested in providing that service if we should need it to do so.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Discussion, Supervisor Hunter.
I think I share some of the same concerns that Supervisor Walker shared. especially when I've been looking at some of the budget items and some of the forthcoming crises that we're facing. And also I did a thorough analysis of the county administrator's overview. But I'm thinking that this situation, that falls under the county administrator authorization, or does she not have the purchasing?
I can answer the question.
Just go ahead, please.
If I understand your question, as far as the involvement, those involvements were based on individual projects, and they were authorized. The previous involvement were authorized by the board.
Okay.
So unless the board authorizes that entity to be involved in a project, it does not occur.
Okay.
Mr. President, may I speak to that?
Supervisor Walker.
Unless there's somebody who has requested speaking before.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I think my motion is sufficient in itself, and that is for anybody allegedly representing the county as an agent or electronic bid and cease and desist in their actions immediately until such time that the county makes the appropriate arrangements to have someone act in that manner.
Okay.
Now, let me just put it like this. You know, it's been said that the county doesn't pay for it. So be it. If if a vendor knows that they're going to have to pay somebody 3%, you can be assured that the county is going to be charged for that amount. At any rate, the act in itself is not legal.
Okay.
My motion is designed to stop it in its tracks right now.
Okay. It's been moved in second. Mr. Hunter, do you have something that you want to comment?
No further discussion.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? I'm not going to vote. So there will be the motion passes and one not voting. Continue, please.
The final matter that I'm bringing before the board at this meeting has to do with contracts. It has been recommended to us previously as we worked on the budget that we work to reduce contracts by 15 to 18%. No action has been taken on that, and we have yet to get a listing of the contracts that we have. In that, we need the money that we can get from reducing or negotiating down the contracts that we have. I'd like to move that the legal department immediately, along with the county administrator, immediately begin to pull out those contracts and start the process of negotiating them down. And in the absence of having something come before this board by the next meeting, the next regular meeting, if nothing comes before this board, I'd like my motion to read that all contracts be terminated.
Ooh.
Okay. It's been moved. Let's see if we get a second, then we'll go to discussion. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Mr. President, I want to think about second, but I don't know if we can terminate all contracts, and legal might need to weigh in on that.
I'm very sure that they will.
They're going to earn their money again.
Let me just do it this particular way. Mr. Hunter has something that he wants to get in, and then what we'll do from that, we'll see if we get a second, and then we'll go from there. Okay, Mr. Hunter.
Thank you, Mr. President. Based on the recommendation of Dr. Walker, I got great concern about the contract process also, especially with the reduction. However, I think the financial advisor, this was one of his points that he needs to be involved in this assessment of the contract. But I don't know whether we want to try to terminate all the contracts because that would put the county in a bad position to stop providing services. But I definitely think that we need to have some sort of response by the next meeting. At least know who we have contracts with, so we can start the negotiation process.
Okay. It is Peter.
Suggestion.
Go ahead.
The county has approximately 240 contracts that we've identified already. Let us provide a list of those 240 contracts along with expiration dates of those contracts to the board, and then get some direction from the board as to which ones we need to start reviewing. Quite frankly, 240 contracts and review of those could take the next 3 months if we don't do anything else. So we're still going to have to figure out some way to prioritize those.
Thank you very much. It's been moved. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Dr. Walker, continue. Thank you very much. We will now continue our printed agenda. We'll go to the Honorable Mr. Ken Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I want to start with item number 2, if I could.
Okay.
The update on no guns allowed. I think we have a contract with Priest's law firm. Thank you, sir. And I was hoping that they would come, and I hope our legal department will contact them and see what's the status of our ordinance that we were going to have concerning no guns allowed on county property and things of that nature. And at our next meeting, Mr. President, I play the back and basically find out where we are with this.
Okay.
On number 1, Mr. President, this is an item that legal told me that we need to do a request for proposals. I think that we need some kind of marketing, branding for Hinds County, and I asked legal if they legal will try to come forward and guide us on this. I got a list of the items that's considered professional services, and marketing might not be covered under that. So again, we're going to ask that we move forward with request for proposal RFP.
That's correct, Mr. Stokes. You had asked us whether this could be considered a professional service, and you put it on the agenda while we looked at that issue. And between the time the agenda was compiled and this morning, we pulled the statute and Attorney General's opinion and took advice that it didn't quite fit under the professional services. We will sit down and craft an RFP and get this out. Especially for the amount that's being considered, we ought to be able to turn this around pretty quickly and get this out and get responses in quickly.
Second. It's been moved and properly seconded that we develop an RFP for this particular issue. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Supervisor Stokes, I really appreciate you bringing this item up because it's one that we've been working with, and we've had several people to come to the county wanting to do this. So I think that if we formally do it and we have some systematic way of doing it, it will allow us to get the best price. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
Continue.
I'm sorry. To move that issue forward, can we get approval to advertise for the RFP?
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded.
Jackson Avenue?
Yes.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Supervisor Stokes, continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have a family here. If they come forward from Wildman Brownview here, and it's lovely to watch you hear them on the radio all the time. They established and reestablished Battlefield Park community organizations in terms of having a board and everything else. And what they want to do is try to impact Battlefield Park. And we have from the city of Jackson, Mr. Zen, that's out in the foyer, and they've been working with the city of Jackson to establish a walking trail would go in Battlefield Park. If anyone's been in Battlefield Park lately, it's a need for some help. And I think the city and the county jointly can do some things. And we've made a commitment to try to do a walking trail at Battlefield Park under the in the tree area, so it'll be shaded in the summertime, and we'll hear from this other wife team.
Okay. Good morning. Give us your name, please.
Good morning. My name is Janice Adams. And we just, as Mr. Stokes, Supervisor Stokes just stated, we just revitalized our neighborhood association. We reorganized it. And we realized that we didn't have a walking trail there in the Battlefield community. We was going other places, other parts that are far off. And we have some senior citizens and some my age who are not always able to go out of our immediate community. So we came to Supervisor Stokes after going to some other members at the city of Jackson, and after talking with Supervisor Stokes, he stated to us that he was going to bring it before this body and see if he could help us out with the walking trail. And we do have a location there which is around the trees. And there is some work that has to be done to upgrade it, but we think that it is a feasible idea.
Okay, Supervisor Stokes.
Mr. President, I'm getting legal because we're looking to have the city of Jackson and their Parks and Rec department to transfer the money to them, and we'll all work together because we're all one county and city. So I so move that we transfer $100,000 to the city of Jackson Parks and Rec Division.
It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Question from Supervisor Walker.
It's a two-part question. One, this $100,000, is it to come from those bond monies transferred from Byron Clinton corridor?
Yes.
Okay. And two, is there a fiscal note attached to the request for the walking trail to specify what's going to be done and how much it's going to cost?
Let me see if I can answer the question too. As I understand what Supervisor Stokes said, we would need to do an interlocal with the city of Jackson, and we would specify in the interlocal that it would be for a walking trail at Battlefield Park in an amount not to exceed $100,000. And if there's any more specificity any supervisors want, we'll include that in the interlocal as well.
Yeah, well, to follow up on what you're saying, the walking trail won't cost $100,000.
Right.
Parks and Rec people have other area needs, and we'll have our legal department work with them to identify them.
Okay.
But the bottom line is that
it won't exceed
designated funds, whatever the final cost is, would come from those monies that have been earmarked from bonds for the Byron Clinton corridor.
Correct. All right, Supervisor Hunter, and then we'll vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question to Supervisor Stokes, that just coming out of your part.
Yes, sir. That's all.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming. Supervisor Stokes, continue, please.
Mr. President, item number 4 is to award the contract to Ajax School Supply for basketball goals and swing set on county-owned property.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of? Discussion?
Same question.
I don't think I need to ask Ms. Woods. Ms. Woods, I should have had some more of my reparation for our money without what we did with Byron and Parkway. I paid at least $8,000. I don't think it is, but we can say it is, Mr. President, just for
come after the executive session.
Okay. All those, we can vote on it if it's, we'll make sure we have the appropriate location where the money of the land, where it's in, and we'll advise you before the end of the meeting. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to?
Nay. I don't want to vote against it if the funds are not coming from.
I understand.
It's all right.
So,
all right.
Since there's uncertainty, nay.
Thank you. All those, excuse me, motion passes. Okay, continue.
Mr. President, on the county administrator issue, I'd like to take that to executive session.
Thank you very much. Continue, please.
Mr. President, on Crime Stoppers, we've had families that's been devastated by deaths and we tried to contact Crime Stoppers to find out whether or not we could increase some of these rewards, keeping in mind that in some of these areas where there's drugs and other problems occurring, that some people were taught with information rewards and items. And from our information, come on up, ma'am. I think, are you the lady who's been doing it for 17 years?
Yes, sir.
And I think she told our office they didn't renew her contract, and we need to get it renewed because she's been doing it forever. Would you introduce yourself and kind of?
My name is Marty Morgan, and I started working, I was actually on the Crime Stopper board in 1995, and I was only off of that board for 6 months when I worked out a state contract. But it's important that everybody in this room today understand that I am not representing Central Mississippi Crime Stoppers, and that there may be questions you want to ask me that would be better answered in an executive session. President Graham is very compassionate about Crime Stoppers. We've worked together. It's a part of my heart, and it's a part of something that was developed to work where we know that we can't hire enough law enforcement officers anywhere in any city or county to take care of the crime that's happening. When my contract was actually bought out,
When you said bought out,
my contract was bought out at into the 6th month of last year. I was handling all the media, community. I was working with the communities and going into the communities. Had been successful in getting our payments raised from $1,000 on heinous crimes to $2,500. I was using the media, as I'm sure y'all saw. We used a lot of media at that time, and I had also worked out a system with Lamar Signs where if any police department called me and somebody, they knew somebody, had a picture on file and they were looking for that person, within minutes I could have their picture on one of their digital boards. This is not being done, but I am in no way, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm putting a shadow on Crime Stoppers. There are many things that I would share with you. I would prefer to share with you in executive session if that's a possibility, or in a committee.
okay.
But
I'll do this, Mr. President. We'll meet with another time. Because it came out of when we were trying to call. We called over to the city police department. They referred it to her. We called over to city finance. They referred it to her. And our people, when she told us she wasn't doing it any longer, everybody was just kind of stunned. So we don't know the direction that Central Mississippi Crime Stoppers is going. But it must have been a couple of years ago when I was at the city. And I suggested we up the reward, and she moved it in from $1,000 to $2,500. And what I was going to hope to do on certain cases, but not all cases, that we try to get the reward up to $10,000 when we know we can get some information on the higher. But what do we do, number one, to get you back involved, and who got the contract?
well, our board of directors are the ones that make the decision. I think it was on a motion from the executive board, so that would be who I will give you some information on. Jackson, and I think President Graham was involved in the original drawing up of the Crime Stopper program. I know Chip Pippin and that bunch, Malcolm McMillan with the county, and that was back, goodness, in 1975 maybe. But it was chartered actually on September 5th, 1985 as Jackson Hines Crime Stoppers. So we've got one of the oldest programs, and we have one of the best programs. And I had just been able to bring it into Central Mississippi as 8 programs, 8 counties, 26 municipalities, all paying into the program. And I guess one of the big differences was I was a proponent of giving money back into the different agencies for training purposes, and there were just a lot of things. So, but I will be glad to meet with you at a different time.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. We'll do this, man, to get your number. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
And finally, Mr. President, if we can get the Chancellor Clerk's office to read the resolution for Dr. Glenda Baskin Glover, who would be, who started her activities into her inauguration as the president of Tennessee State University. Dr. Glover worked at the city of Jackson, through Jackson State and other agencies for a number of years. It's like home in so many ways, and I think Swain is going to be Thursday. Activities Wednesday, games Saturday, and we're
Mr. Stokes, we were asking our newest employee, Deputy Chancellor Clerk in accounting, Keelan Sanders, to report.
I thought he was the task force.
He was.
Things change.
Was that weapon?
Quickly in Adams County. Go ahead, Keith.
Resolution. The Board of Supervisors of Hinds County, Mississippi, commends Dr. Glenda Baskin Glover for being selected as the 8th president of Tennessee State University. Whereas Dr. Glenda Baskin Glover began serving as president of Tennessee State University on January 2nd, 2013. Dr. Glover was formerly the dean of the College of Business at Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi, where she led the College of Business throughout the accreditation process and spearheaded the implementation of the nation's only PhD in business at a historically black college or university. She is a certified public accountant and attorney, and is one of 2 African American women to hold a PhD, CPA, and JD degrees combination in the nation. Whereas Dr. Glover's educational development began as a student at Tennessee State University, where she majored in mathematics. After graduating with a Bachelor of Science degree, she pursued the Master of Business Administration from Clark Atlanta University. She then completed her doctorate in business from George Washington University and later completed her law degree from Georgetown University. Whereas prior to joining Jackson State University, Dr. Glover served as chairperson of the Department of Accounting at Howard University. Her past employment also includes positions as Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of an engineering firm, a tax manager at a major public utility company, and an accountant with a Big Four CPA firm. Whereas Dr. Glover has been a corporate board member of 3 publicly traded corporations. These included Citigroup Student Loan Corporation, American Learning Corporation, and First Guarantee Bank Shares. She served as chair of the audit committee on each board. Dr. Glover also is a member of the advisory board of Regions Bank of Mississippi and chairperson of the Board of Commissioners of the Jackson, Mississippi Airport Authority. Whereas Dr. Glover is the author of more than 100 articles and papers and is regarded as one of the nation's experts on corporate governance. She is a member of several professional, civic, and nonprofit organizations and is the recipient of numerous awards and honors. Dr. Glover is married to Mr. Charles Glover, and they have 2 adult children, Candace Glover and Charles Glover II. Be it resolved in order on this, the 25th day of October the 2013, Hinds County Board of Supervisors.
So moved, Mr. President.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, could I get the county administrator someone to call Supervisor Calhoun and ask if it would be okay if they put her name, sign her name on, so we can send this off to them for the activities.
That would be fine.
On behalf of the board.
And let me follow up on something that you stated earlier, Supervisor Stokes. I do have a passion for Crime Stoppers, and I think that we really do need to, as a board, during one of our work sessions, really look into this, because the City of Jackson and Hinds County, we have put in more money than any of the other municipalities, and I think that we should have some type of idea as to what's going on. I know that Marty has worked very hard over there with them, so I'm looking forward to having that conversation with you and her as it relates to that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. We'll now go to the county administrator. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Dr. Walker.
Mr. President, pardon me. But there's something else that I think needs to be addressed quickly. Over the weekend, Jackson State had its homecoming activities during the past week. And as we all know, University of Louisiana did not show up for the game. And I think it would be appropriate if this board were to publicly commend Dr. Myers, her staff, that labor department, and everybody connected with Jackson State for the manner in which they responded to these horrible circumstances. And that we can have received the second that the president of our board take the action of doing a letter or pass some resolution or something to let them know that we appreciate what they've done, how they did it, and we're just delighted to have them in Hinds County.
Okay. We'll do it in the form of a resolution. You're making the motion. Supervisor Stokes has made the second. All that's in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. It was a very trying weekend for the university, but I think they came to it very well. And they do need to be commended for something that I consider unprecedented as this relates to a sporting event. So thank you very much. We will continue with Mrs. Carmen Davis. Mrs. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I begin the items, if you don't mind, if I can take this opportunity to first introduce the board members to the newly appointed director for the Henley Young Juvenile Detention Center, Mrs. Brenda Freelitz, who's with us today. Oh, she's over that way. I want to welcome her. She comes with 8 years of experience from Oakley Training Center. She's a state and national licensed social worker and counselor and therapist. And she's currently completing her PhD. So we believe she's a wonderful asset to the county. She has already moved forward on some items. I just want to point out we're moving forward and putting together some mental health programming. She's working on that right now. Also a training program and curriculum that we have not had before that is coming to fruition. And also we recently resurfaced our basketball court, which the children are enjoying. So I want to introduce Mrs. Brenda Freeman.
Okay. Thank you very much and welcome aboard. Thank you.
I hate to keep butting in, but we have here the special project officer for the 4th District, Miss Sheila Seaton, and I asked her to come to the board meeting today so that she can get a feel and a visual on how we conduct business, and if it's in order, I'd like her to just stand.
It's in order. Okay. Thank you and welcome. Supervisor Hunter, you want to move forward?
I just wanted Ms. Felix to come to the podium and just do a little introduction.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. As Ms. Davis said, I am Brenda Freelitz. I am a licensed professional counselor and a national certified counselor. I have a bachelor's and master's degree from Jackson State University. I have a master's and specialist degree from Mississippi College. And I'm currently working on my PhD at the University of Louisiana Monroe.
Questions? Statements?
How's it going at the detention center?
It's actually going good. There's been some improvements I've seen. I've made some visits outside of my normal working hours just to see how things are going. And they seem to be going okay.
Supervisor Stokes.
Thank you. Ms. Freeman, the situation with gangs, what is your assessment with the young people you had that is coming in and out in terms of gang affiliation?
It's pretty prevalent in Jackson. I don't know if it's being addressed as it should be, but some training would help. I know there's, and we spoke with Judge Skinner about Hal Gray, who's over gang interdiction unit here in Hinds County, and he does really good work. I think it's the state. But maybe if he can come in and do some training, and I think Judge Skinner said he can set it up where he can come in and speak with the staff and just kind of show them what to look for, because we do have graffiti where the kids would draw on things, their gang affiliation. So we're trying to cut back on that.
And I know you're working underpaid. Is there a possibility that you can start send someone to the schools and try to discourage them from gang participation?
Being staff?
You or someone you can identify, because a lot of times it just what we hear that sometimes when they go in there, people ask who they affiliated with, who you with. And a lot of these kids may not be gang oriented, but by the time they get in there and start feeling they got to join, then they do join. And you know, sometimes we can reach them and let them know that gangs, even in these neighborhoods, the bigger kids, I'm fine. The ones that's over 18, the adults, encouraging and recruiting these youngsters, these juveniles, to join the gangs. I'm talking about as 8 years old.
Well, I think that will come more from programming and in the community, because when the kids doesn't feel like they have anybody to associate with or family support, then gang become family to them. So if you can get them involved in something more positive before they come to detention or jail, then you will be better off that way. Because once they get in institution, it's kind of hard to control it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Okay, Mrs. Davis, continue.
Good to have you. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Continue, please.
Okay, first item on the county administrative relates to unclaimed bodies. However, they are not for your consideration today.
Ms. Davis.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President. We have a young lady here earlier, I think she's left. I had to meet with someone on the staff. And the issue is when we have people that's killed. I know the Urban League helped you some kind of murder situation. But we had her husband run over by a car and no money. And somebody told that the county normally would help. And I don't know if we have any funds. And I hope that in the future we can try to pull up a fund, especially. And I think for explaining that only thing we do if it's a body, we can just bury the body. But the Urban League, again, where there's crime, they would help with burial. But we have a number of these people that needs to help with burials, especially where someone was run over and those kind of things. I know a lot of people for the county for help, but currently, from what I'm hearing, there's no help in the county. There's no help at the state level.
I'm not aware of.
I think